Thank you, Acting President Francesca, soon to be President. You know, being up here on this place has some hazards, and I think it has some intrinsic reward. My reward is that three pretty young ladies told me they were looking forward to this program. Now, Chris, you and Andy are going to have to pick up the slack so they won't be disappointed. I'm glad to get these props here because I might need it before we get through. I brought a card to make me some notes. Knowing that Alzheimer's is not too far away, I was afraid I might forget something, so I brought this card to make me some notes, but I forgot what it was I wanted to put on the card. We will move forward. Before I introduce our first speaker, I'm going to tell this story about an older man, not quite as old as me, but he went and bought him a 400 horsepower turbocharged sports car, and he got on the interstate to test it out, and he got so carried away with the pep and the power, the first thing you know, he was driving 90 miles an hour. And of course, shortly a state trooper with his light on was behind him. Well, the man's first impression was, the first impulse, I'll just see if my sports car will outrun the police car. And he got on up over 100. Well, his better judgment then took over, and he slowed down and pulled over. And the trooper came up and said, I don't have to tell you, you were doing 30 miles an hour over the speed limit. But if you have an excuse that I haven't heard before, I won't give you a ticket. And the driver said, well, my wife ran off with a state trooper, and I thought you were bringing her back. The trooper said, well, slow down and have a nice day. Now, that excuse won't work if your wife is in the car with you. I said it already, it has hazards being up here, and I already mixed up one thing. I want to introduce a special guest, Janelle with us. Stand up, Janelle. Janelle is ranch coordinator for UL Coleman Companies, and she's the newest member of the board of the Architects Ag Council. Thank you, Janelle, for being here. Janelle is during my time, I worked with a lot of ranch managers and whatever, but I never had the opportunity to work with one quite like Janelle. For those of you that are new, Chris Giordano is a member of the club, and he's also general manager, president of the Louisiana State Fare of Louisiana. So, Chris, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank all of you for allowing us to be here today. I'm not the comedian of the bunch. It's these two right here. So we'll get back to some jokes in just a little bit. But first, before I start talking about this year's State Fair, I want to introduce Andy's guest, if that's okay. Andy, joining us today, Ms. Margaret Shehee, who is a big-time supporter of our junior livestock sale, along with the rest of her family. We appreciate all that you do for that sale and for the State Fair of Louisiana. Ms. Margaret Shehee. Now the weather's starting to change a little bit. I do hear we're going to have pretty rather weather the rest of the week, but the temperatures are a little cooler, so that means that the fair is in the air, which is our theme this year. Fair opens up this Thursday, October 24th, and runs through Sunday, November the 10th. This Thursday is a real special day at the fair. Not only is it our opening day, it's also our Seniors Day at the State Fair, where we have a wonderful seniors program planned for First Coliseum that Gary Clevis, with the best of times, helps us to put on. In there you'll find all types of services, free services, health screenings, information booths. He also has some game shows that he does and awards all types of prizes as well. So that's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Thursday. It's also Dollar Day at the State Fair. One of the Dollar Days this year. We've been opening up with a Dollar Day promotion the last several years, and it's been so successful that we decided we need one of these every week of the fair. So Dollar Day has become Dollar Thursdays at the State Fair. Thursday the 24th, Thursday October 31st, which is also Halloween, and the concessionaires will have candy and treats for the trick-or-treaters that come out that day. And then again on Thursday, November the 7th, the final week of the fair. At 3 p.m. when we start charging to come into the fair, it's only $1 to park. Gate admission is only $1, and the carnival rides are $1 each all day long. Carnival rides will be opening at 12 noon this year on the weekdays, 10 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Last year, the carnival did not open until 3, not realizing the numbers of people that come out early in the days on these free fair days during the week. And they decided that they better open up a little earlier this year because I think they missed a few dollars last year. So the carnival will be opening at noon. I want to talk about some of the new things at the fair this year. Every year we try to bring in a few new attractions and entertainment pieces. This year we have coming in, along with some of our usual attractions, we have a live shark show coming in, which is an educational show. The live sharks are lemon sharks and nurse sharks in a huge aquarium. And the fellow also gets in with the sharks and does a shark feeding to end the show. And part of that exhibit also is a great white exhibit. But no, we're not having a live great white come to the fair. The great white exhibit is an educational exhibit as well. There is a huge set of great white jaws that the entire family can take their photo in for a photo op at the fair. We also have this year coming in Penguins of the Arctic High Dive Show, which is a penguin-themed high dive show. It's not penguins, it's people dressed as penguins. The High Dive Show will also be performing every day of the fair, and they will be doing a night show every night at the fair at 7 p.m. Part of the night show is the fire dive, where one of the gentlemen will light themselves on fire and dive off an 80-foot tall platform into the tank. Also new this year is Through the Eyes Vietnam ERA exhibit. And the ERA stands for something, but it's not era, but it is a Vietnam era exhibit. A gentleman by the name of Jon Lowe Jr., who is a Vietnam veteran, was a paratrooper in Vietnam. He was shot and injured, went back to Vietnam as a combat photographer, and collected a wealth of photography, memorabilia, weapons, all types of things. And he's bringing this exhibit to the fair. This will be his first fair ever to bring it to. He normally travels with the wall, and he wanted to see what it would be like to go to a fair. So I'm glad that he called me a few months ago. He does not charge anything to go through the exhibit, but he does take donations, which helps fund his travels and upgrades to the exhibit. And he doesn't charge the fair for bringing the exhibit in, but I did not feel right with that, so we offered to pay his expenses, put him in a hotel room, rent the tent that the exhibit goes in, and that sort of thing. Also new at the fair this year is the Tree of Life that will be strolling the midway of the fair. We also have the Be Extreme break dancers from New York City that will be performing each day. And they were recently on America's Got Talent, one of the better performers on America's Got Talent, actually. The Grandpa Cratchit Show, which is a kids show. It's a huge 2-story stage with puppets and such, and I believe Grandpa's going to be teaching the golden rule this year to our young kids. Those are all free attractions. It doesn't cost you any additional money to see any of those things. Some of the ones we're bringing back, Circus Hollywood, Hollywood Racing Pigs. I think I saw some robot motions. Actually, the Tree of Life is replacing the robot this year. The Rocket Robot is who you're thinking of, and Rocket Robot has been a big hit the last 3 years at the fair. Big, huge, 10-foot tall robot that dances and such and performs on the midway. But Rocket Robot is one of the most sought-after entertainers in the whole fair industry, and fairs are always fighting to get rocket robot to their fair. So we decided to let the Volusia County Fair in Florida have rocket robot this year. And we've got an agreement. They get them one year, we get them the next year. So we'll start alternating with rocket robot. But we have over 4 acres of exotic animals in our zoo, including giraffes, tigers, camels, your typical petting zoo animals. That's also where the tiger show is, the pig races, and the Grandpa Cratchit show, and Miss Stivana's Frisian horse show, which is a great show with beautiful horses. Some of the other entertainment going on at the fair this year in Hearst Coliseum, particularly, we open up with the Seniors Expo. Then the first weekend we have a huge cheerleading competition with over 1,000 cheerleaders involved. On Sunday we have a baton and dance line competition. And then we put dirt in the Coliseum on Monday and get ready for rodeo. Our rodeo is a PRCA sanctioned rodeo, which is the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, if you're not familiar. It's put on by Pete Carr's Classic Pro Rodeo. And this year should be a spectacular rodeo. We have some of the top cowboys in the country coming in to compete on some of the rankest bulls and bucking horses that you will find in the country. The cowboys that are involved in this PRCA circuit travel from town to town, city to city, earning points to hopefully end up in Las Vegas in early December, where the National Finals Rodeo is held each year. So this is a stopping point on the way to the NFR. That Sunday we have a Hispanic rodeo in the Coliseum, which is a little bit different than the PRCA rodeo. It is only bull riding, and it's not an 8-second ride. It's the ride until the bull gives up or the cowboy gives up, and along with a lot of bands performing on one end of the arena at the same time. Then we take dirt out, and we didn't schedule anything the last weekend of the fair this year. We were working on a draft horse show, but that ended up falling through. But it's kind of a blessing that we don't, because 4 days after the fair, we start the Shreveport Bossier Mavericks Pro Basketball League. Their first game is on Thursday, November 14th in Hearst Coliseum. So that's going to give us an extra week to get the Coliseum clean, get the newly refinished basketball court down, which the State Fair purchased with the help of the Convention and Tourist Bureau and some others in town back in 1992, I believe it was. At that time, the court was only played on one time. It was played on in an NBA All-Star game. And since that time, it's been used with the CBA team we used to have, the Crawdads and the Storm. LSU and Strohmouse Swift played on it against Centenary not too long ago. That was about 2000 or so, I think. And it's been in storage, really. We've been letting 4 States Fair use it for the Harlem Globetrotters that they bring in every other year. But we recently entered into a lease agreement. I know that Coach Jim Tucker spoke here earlier in the year, but entered into a lease agreement with the Shreveport Bossier Mavericks and their owner, Jerry Nelson, who will be putting on an ABA basketball league, along with several concerts and other types of shows. In fact, they've already got a concert booked November 22nd, a concert in December. On February 28th, the Hearst Coliseum will be host to a Masters of Illusions show, like a David Copperfield type show, but not David Copperfield. So anyway, we're excited about that as well. But that's going to make our job a little different lately, because we haven't been that busy during the year. So now we will be, though. It looks like we'll be working a lot of weekends and nights, but that's okay. That comes with the territory. So we have some new promotions at the fair. I mentioned the Dollar Days. We're also starting another weekday promotion this year called Half Price Wednesdays. There at 3 o'clock when we start charging. Gated admission will be half price, and the armbands for the carnival rides will be half price on Wednesdays. The carnivals actually bring in a few new rides this year. There's a Power Surge coming in and a Hard Rock coming in, which that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody. These are big thrill rides that we've never had before. So if any of y'all are ride enthusiasts like Mr. Jerry Boughton back there, he may have to try out the Power Surge. catch me. But Jerry happens, y'all may not know this, but Jerry Bowden really loves huge rides. I've seen him ride a bunch of big rides out at the fair, and I don't know if he still does today. Isn't that right, Jerry? So, anyway, we got a great fair planned. I hope everyone can have a chance to come out. We made it easy on you. We left a couple tickets at each one of your places. So if you don't come when it's free, come then. I want to briefly speak about agriculture a little bit. I know the gentleman next to me are going to talk a little bit about the junior livestock sale, but I also want to mention Ag Magic at the State Fair, which is a great educational opportunity, especially for our youth. LSU Ag Center has been coming in each year and putting on this program in our agriculture building. It's free, it's interactive, it's hands-on. Kids can dig for potatoes. There's row crops. There'll be a combine in there. They also do scheduled field trips through there if anyone has a teacher in the family that wants to schedule their class to go through. But it gives us an opportunity to help to do something that's in support of our mission, which is promoting agriculture. And today, a lot of kids don't get that at school, and a lot of them don't know where their food comes from or their clothes come from, other than the supermarket and the store. So that gives us an opportunity to teach kids where those items are really coming from. I want to thank Kathy. She put together a picture slideshow for us today, so thank you very much for doing that. And I guess at this point, I'll turn it over back to you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Your check will be in the mail. This will be the 107th State Fair, so anything that runs that long, you know, somebody worked pretty hard. Last year at this time, Andy Shehee put an egg down in front of me and said, talk about this egg. Well, since that time, there have been calls all over for me to come talk about eggs. Matter of fact, since I talked to Greg Lott's little group, there haven't been any more calls, so they've been all over. One question follow-up about the eggs. Question whether you have to have rooster present in order for a hen to lay eggs. The answer to that is no. If you're going to hatch eggs, you do need to have a rooster present. There are people that still think that fertile eggs are superior to infertile eggs. I think this came about because people out in the country knew that fertile soil was better than infertile soil, so you make that association that a fertile egg has got to be better than infertile. Just fertile just sounds a little better than infertile.
John, this is an urban club. I'd be careful.
I want to tell this story in honor of that. It's about a rooster encounter that I had when I was in the Navy. Now, you don't expect to have many encounters with roosters while you're in the Navy. But I was in a squadron stationed on Guam, and we also had a detachment in the Philippines. I was a squadron duty officer one day when I was told that the lieutenant from the admiral's staff is on the phone. And I thought, well, this has got to be pretty important. They probably want us to do a typhoon reconnaissance or maybe do a search and rescue mission. But when I got on the phone, it was important. The lieutenant said he knew we had a plane going to Guam, and the admiral had a rooster that needed to ride. I thought this was some kind of joke, and he said no, he was serious. The admiral had bought what he thought was a surefire winner, and he needed to get to the cockfights in Guam for the weekend. Well, I was young and inexperienced in the real protocol of inter-military workings. I didn't think about the benefits that could come from doing a favor for the admiral, or more importantly, the consequences of not doing him a favor. And I also was disgusted that the admiral was involved with the chicken fighting crowd, so I said there won't be any room on the plane for the rooster. Well, I never did tell the plane commander that I bumped import a passenger from his flight because he was a more senior career officer, and he obviously would have seen this as an opportunity for some career enhancement. But anyhow, I felt better that I saved the rooster's life, felt better doing that than I would doing a favor for the Admiral State Fare's chicken fighting team. Andy, you want to speak to us a little bit about the junior livestock sale?
Thank you, John and Chris. I think we need a biology professor to continue that discussion that you began. I want to recognize and congratulate the Paul Harris Fellows again, and pay special note that our cousin, Katie Kilpatrick Jr., is our Paul Harris Fellow in our family within this club. So congratulations. Last night I dined at the Hotel Driscoll in Austin, Texas with the National Funeral Directors Convention. A very exciting convention. I noticed on the historic plaque inside the hotel lobby that was built by a cattle king, Mr. Driscoll. Well, today in our midst, our newest member of the Architects Ag Council is a cattle baroness, Janelle Willis. From DeSoto Parish and manages the Link Coleman's cattle and is farming down there. So congratulations. I'm glad you're the newest member of the Architects Ag Council. I would say that the Ag Council is one of my favorite boards. Most of the members sport cowboy hats and wide belt buckles. And now we have 5 ladies in the club. So we've come a long way, baby, with Architects Ag Council. Janelle, welcome aboard. Just a few brief words about the junior livestock sale. And John and I are good, diligent Rotarians, and my cell phone died. I'm not sure what time it is. But we hope that you can all be there. As Jack Dillard said in the paper the other day, he wishes we could go back to that logo at your fair, so be there. And Margaret, I'm glad she's here today. Margaret, my mother, and my grandparents, we've had a long legacy of support for the junior livestock sale. And Andy Loftus, who is president of the Architects Ag Council, said it's refreshing to see young people involved in agricultural pursuits, especially in kind of a materialistic, increasingly sort of digital world we live in. They get their hands dirty, they work with live animals, and it's a good experience for them. And we need your support to continue our success there. It'll be Wednesday, October 30th. I hope to see you there. That's the day after my birthday, so no gifts, please. We have coffee and donuts at 9 a.m. Special entertainment from a kind of Western cowboy guitar player, Bobby Bridger, that was featured in this week's issue of the Forum News, and the sale starts at 9:30. Johnny, I'm going to conclude with that. I'm going to let the master of the PhD, Jon Lowe, wrap this up. And by the way, he lives just a mile and 1/10 from my chicken yard. But I'm going to
We did have chickens in our yard at one time, but the yard police put a stop to that. We would like to invite each one of you to this sale. We're not soliciting money. We're just inviting you to come to a place where some people do spend money. I told a chicken story, so I think I need to tell a pig story to make everything equal. When I was a 4-H club agent, we were always searching for animals that the kids could feed that would be competitive at the livestock show, and consequently we had to travel around. At that time, there were not enough of animals of the right kind to be had here in this state. And we had bought quite a few pigs up in Missouri, sometimes as far as Iowa, but we had made contact with a man in southeast Missouri that had pigs farmed out all through the hills up there. And so he had lined up these folks that we could go by and get a few pigs. So we met him, and he started telling us about the pigs, places that we could get pigs. Well, one of the places where he said had pigs was Miss Sue Jett. Now, I don't remember any of the other places we went to, but I do remember Miss Sue Jett's place, and specifically Miss Sue Jett. Anyhow, we ran around through the hills picking up pigs here and there, and each time we'd count pigs and see how many more we needed. And he would remind us that we need to go by Miss Sue Jett's. Well, we finally got to Miss Sue Jett's. We pulled into the place, and you wouldn't believe it was dog patch in the life, in the real. A ramshackle house, yard full of hound dogs, and I thought there won't be any pigs here worth carrying back home. But anyhow, Miss Jett comes out, and I think you could describe Miss Jett as a statuesque blonde, wearing a t-shirt and a pair of shorts that didn't take much cloth to make. We go down to the pig pen, and she has one litter of pigs that are still nursing. I never did like to buy a pig that was still nursing, because getting this pig on feed and getting it overcome its shock from leaving its mother was a little bit more difficult. Anyhow, we bought 6 pigs, loaded them up, and got back on the road. My friend said, "What did you think of those pigs?" And I said, "I didn't look at them very much either." I may not get invited back sometime. I have another pig story. Could be a pig and a snake story, because it involved both. Again, we were up in southeast Missouri one evening and came up on this church. Had a big crowd, so we stopped, thought, well, little church wouldn't hurt us, but we also might find somebody that had some pigs. Now, understand this story. You have to understand that there are certain groups, or I guess you would call them sects. Now, that's S-E-C-T-S, sects, that do snake handling as part of their ritual. So we go to the church, we meet a man at the door, and we tell him we just passing by, thought we'd visit. He carries us down to the front row. And during his presentation, 2 men come from the side room carrying a glass box covered in a white cloth. Set it down in front. Well, when the preacher got through with his message, he said, "Now we come to the part of the service where everyone will have the opportunity to show their true faith." He's looking right straight at me. They whipped the cover off of the glass case. 2 of the biggest rattlesnakes I ever saw in my life in this case. And the preacher said, "In honor of our guests, we're going to let them go first." I stood up and I said, "Preacher, handling snakes is one of my most favorite things to do. But I said, you got all these people here and just 2 little old snakes. And I don't want to deprive one of your members of their opportunity to handle their snake. And besides, I hear my pig squealing, I got to go check on him." I wanted to say that my friend here never has done this, and he wants to go first. When I was riding in his truck, and it was a long ways to hitchhike back to Shreveport. And on top of that, he was about to run over me trying to get to him. We still have 10 minutes, so I'm going to give that back to you as a bonus.